The world was still asleep. A deep, quiet darkness held the mountains of ancient Spain in its embrace. But slowly, a change was coming. A soft, gray light began to touch the highest peaks. It was a whisper of color, a promise of the day to come. This was not a sudden arrival. It was a gentle unfolding. The light crept down the rocky slopes, revealing the silhouettes of ancient trees. It moved with a sacred slowness, as if it were afraid to disturb the profound silence that covered the land. This was a time before the noise of our world, a time when you could almost hear the turning of the earth itself. Below, nestled in a valley veiled by mist, lay a monastery. Its stone walls were old, weathered by centuries of wind and rain. They had seen kingdoms rise and fall. They stood as silent witnesses to history. The air around this place felt different. It was heavy with peace, thick with prayer. The morning mist swirled around the bell tower like a soft blanket, muffling every sound. This was the Abbey of San Sebastián de Silos, a place set apart from the world. It was a sanctuary where heaven seemed to touch the earth, where the barrier between the seen and the unseen was thin. The silence here was not empty. It was full. It was a living presence, a character in our story. It held the prayers of generations of monks who had walked these hallowed grounds. Every stone seemed to have absorbed their chants, their hopes, their devotion. As the dawn continued its slow journey, the first hints of gold appeared on the horizon. The light filtered through the arched windows of the cloister, painting long, soft rectangles on the cold stone floors. It was a scene of perfect stillness, a moment of divine peace before the world stirred. This was the stage for a life that would echo through eternity. In this sacred quiet, a story of incredible faith was about to be written. It was not a story of grand battles or powerful kings. It was a story about a humble man, a gentle soul whose quiet life would create ripples of hope that are still felt today. It is a story that shows us how the deepest strength can be found not in a loud voice, but in a silent heart. It begins here, in the hushed moments of a Spanish dawn, where the air itself seemed to be waiting for a miracle to happen, waiting for a saint to walk among men and remind them of the power of God's unending love. Among the shadows and the soft morning light moved a figure. His name was Dominic. He was not a man who sought attention. In fact, he did everything he could to avoid it. His movements were slow, deliberate, and quiet. He was a Benedictine monk, and his life was a rhythm of prayer and work, ora et labora. His face was etched with lines of kindness, a map of countless hours spent in contemplation. His eyes held a deep and gentle wisdom. They were eyes that looked at the world not with judgment, but with a profound and compassionate understanding. He saw the brokenness in people, but he also saw the divine spark within them. His appearance was simple, unremarkable by worldly standards. He wore the humble, dark habit of his order. The cloth was coarse, worn from years of kneeling on stone floors and working in the fields. His hands were those of a laborer, calloused and strong, yet they moved with a surprising gentleness. He was a shepherd in his youth, and he carried that same quiet, watchful spirit into his monastic life. He didn't speak often. When he did, his voice was soft, his words few but filled with meaning. He believed that silence was a language that God understood best, a space where the soul could truly listen. His daily routine was a testament to his humility. He took on the most menial tasks in the monastery without complaint. He would sweep the floors, tend the gardens, and care for the sick. He saw holiness in the ordinary. To him, washing a dish for a brother was as sacred as chanting a psalm in the chapel. He did not see a difference between the sacred and the secular. It was all an offering to God. This profound humility was the foundation of his spiritual power. He made himself small so that God could be great within him. He emptied himself of pride and ego, creating a vessel ready to be filled with grace. Other monks looked to him not because he was a leader, but because he was an example. They saw in him a peace that they all longed for. He was a steady presence, a calm center in a sometimes turbulent world. His life was a quiet sermon, teaching more through his actions than any words could ever convey. He showed them that true greatness wasn't about being recognized by others. It was about being known by God. He was a simple monk, a shepherd of souls, and his quiet, unassuming life was about to become a beacon of hope for all of Spain. Long after the other monks were asleep, one small light could often be seen burning in the monastery. It came from a tiny, bare cell. This was Dominic's sanctuary. This was where his true work was done. The room was simple, almost empty. It held only a hard wooden bed, a small table, and a single flickering candle. The flame danced in the darkness, casting long, moving shadows on the cold stone walls. For Dominic, this small light was a symbol. It was a tiny pinpoint of hope in the vast darkness of the night, a reminder of the divine light that never goes out, no matter how dark the world becomes. Here, in the profound solitude of the night, Dominic would kneel for hours. The world outside faded away. The concerns of the day dissolved. There was only him, the silence, and the presence of God. His prayer was not a performance. It was a conversation, a deep and intimate communion of the heart. Sometimes he would read from the ancient scriptures, his lips moving silently as he absorbed the sacred words. Other times, he would simply be still, his head bowed, listening. He believed that prayer was as much about listening as it was about speaking. He was listening for that still, small voice of God. The air in his cell felt charged with devotion. The candlelight would glint off the tears that sometimes traced paths down his cheeks. These were not tears of sadness. They were tears of overwhelming love, of awe, of a deep connection to the divine mystery. He prayed for the world. He prayed for the suffering, the lost, and the forgotten. He held the pain of humanity in his heart and offered it up to God. He prayed for his fellow monks, for the king, and for the poor souls held captive in distant lands. His small cell became the spiritual heart of the monastery, pumping out grace into the world. This private life of prayer was the source of his public power. The miracles that would later define his legacy were not born in the public square. They were born here, in the quiet, in the darkness, before a single candle. His strength was forged in solitude. His faith was honed in the silence. It was in these hidden moments that he became a conduit for God's power, a clear channel through which divine love could flow into a broken and hurting world. His life teaches us that the greatest changes often begin in the quietest and most hidden places of the human heart. Word of the holy monk at Silos began to spread. It traveled on the lips of merchants and pilgrims. It was a whisper of hope in a time of great fear. In those days, Christian captives were often taken by Moorish pirates and held for ransom in terrible conditions. Families were torn apart. Hope was a luxury few could afford. Desperate people with nowhere else to turn began to pray to Dominic. They had heard stories of his powerful intercession. They believed that this humble man had a direct line to heaven. And something incredible began to happen. Captives in far-off prisons began to have visions. In the dead of night, in their dark and filthy cells, they would see a gentle monk appearing to them. He would be holding a set of keys or a broken chain. He would speak words of comfort and promise them that their freedom was near. At first, they thought they were dreaming, that their minds were playing tricks on them. But then, miraculously, their chains would fall away. Their prison doors would swing open. Guards would be inexplicably asleep. They would walk out into the night, free, guided by an unseen hand back to their homes in Spain. When these freed captives returned, they all told the same story. They made their way to the monastery of Silos to find the man from their visions. They wanted to thank him. When they arrived, they would see Dominic walking in the cloister or praying in the chapel, and they would recognize him immediately. They would fall to their knees, weeping with gratitude. Dominic, in his profound humility, would simply point them toward the church. He would insist that it was not his power, but the power of God that had set them free. He was merely an instrument, a humble servant. The monastery cloister began to fill with the symbols of this freedom. The freed captives would leave their chains and shackles behind as offerings of thanks. They hung from the walls and pillars, a stunning metallic testament to the power of prayer. Each set of chains told a story of despair turned into joy, of bondage turned into liberation. The miracles were not just about physical freedom, they were about the restoration of hope. Dominic showed people that even in the darkest prison, no lock is too strong, and no wall is too high for the power of God's love. When Dominic first arrived at Silos, he found a monastery in ruins. It was not just the buildings that were crumbling. The spirit of the community was broken. The monks were few, their resources scarce, and their morale was at an all-time low. The abbey was a shadow of its former glory, a place where hope had grown thin. It seemed destined to fade into history, but Dominic did not see ruin. He saw potential. He saw what the monastery could be, not just what it was. He arrived with a quiet determination and a heart full of faith. He began, as always, with prayer. He spent long hours in the dilapidated chapel, asking for God's guidance. Then, he set to work. He did not issue grand commands from an office. He picked up the stones himself. He worked alongside the other monks, mixing mortar, clearing rubble, and planting new gardens. His energy was infectious. His unwavering faith inspired the small community. They saw his dedication, his belief that God would provide, and their own hope began to reignite. Slowly, painstakingly, the physical structure of the monastery began to change. But the true transformation was happening within the hearts of the monks. Dominic's leadership was one of gentle encouragement and spiritual example. He revitalized their prayer life. He taught them to find joy in their work. The monastery once again became a vibrant center of faith. New novices, drawn by the stories of the holy abbot, began to arrive. The sound of chanting once again filled the halls. The community grew not just in numbers, but in spirit. The monastery was being reborn from the inside out. Under Dominic's care, the monastery of Silos flourished into one of the most important spiritual centers in all of Spain. The scriptorium produced beautiful illuminated manuscripts. The cloister, which he personally designed, became a masterpiece of Romanesque art, a place of stunning beauty built for contemplation. Dominic showed that faith is not a passive force. It is a creative, restorative power. He took a place of decay and turned it into a beacon of life, art, and learning. He rebuilt a house of stone, and in doing so, he rebuilt a home for the human soul. Today, in our own time, we can still feel trapped. Our chains may not be made of iron, but they are just as real. They can be chains of anxiety, of addiction, of fear, or of hopelessness. We can feel imprisoned by our circumstances, lost in the darkness of our own struggles. The story of Saint Dominic of Silos is not just a tale from the past. It is an invitation for us today. It is a reminder that His intercession is still powerful, His compassion still available to all who ask. But you might wonder, how do we ask for His help? The process is simple, born of the heart, not of complex ritual. First, find a moment of quiet. You don't need a grand church or a special altar. It can be in your car, in your room, or on a walk. Just for a few minutes, step away from the noise of the world. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. Let the silence settle around you, just as it settled around Dominic in his cell. This act of creating stillness is the first step. It is an act of opening a door in your soul, making a space where you can speak, and more importantly, where you can listen for the gentle whisper of hope. Next, bring to mind the chains that bind you. Acknowledge them without judgment. See them clearly. Are they feelings of sadness? A situation that feels impossible? A relationship that is broken? Now, perform a simple visual ritual. Hold your hands out in front of you and clasp them together as if they are bound. Feel the tension. This represents your struggle, the prison you feel you are in. It is a physical prayer, an outward sign of your inner state. You are showing God and Saint Dominic exactly where you need freedom. Finally, speak from your heart. You can use your own words or a simple prayer like this. Saint Dominic of Silos, you who brought freedom to the captives and hope to the hopeless, look upon me in my struggle. I am bound by, and here you name your struggle. Through your powerful intercession, I ask for the grace to be set free. Please, break these chains that hold me and guide me back to the light of hope and peace. Amen. As you say amen, slowly and deliberately unclasp your hands. Open them wide, palms facing up. This is a symbol of release, of surrender, of your readiness to receive grace and freedom. The life of a saint does not end with their last breath. It is transformed. As Dominic grew old, his body weakened, but his spirit shone ever brighter. His work was done. The monastery was a beacon of light. Countless souls had been touched by his grace. As the sun set on his earthly life, it was like the sunsets he had watched over the Spanish mountains. It was not an ending, but a glorious transition into something even more beautiful. The bells of the monastery he had rebuilt rang out, not in sorrow, but in triumphant gratitude for a life so well lived. His death was not a closing chapter, but the opening of a new one. His presence did not leave the world, it simply became universal. He was no longer confined to a single monastery or a single country. He became a patron saint for all who are held captive, for expectant mothers, and for shepherds. His spirit of liberation continues to work in the world, unlocking chains we cannot see and opening doors we thought were permanently closed. His story became a timeless source of encouragement, a powerful reminder that no situation is beyond hope. The legacy of Saint Dominic of Silos is etched into the very stones of his monastery, but it is written most clearly in the human heart. It is a legacy of quiet strength, of profound humility, and of unwavering faith in the face of ruin. He teaches us that our own small, hidden acts of prayer and kindness can have a power that echoes through time. He shows us that even from the deepest darkness, a path to freedom can be found. His life is a testament to the fact that one person, wholly dedicated to God, can become a conduit for miracles that change the world. So, when you feel lost, when the walls are closing in and the darkness seems overwhelming, remember the humble monk from Silos. Remember the chains hanging in his cloister. Light a candle, a small flame against the night. Let it be your prayer, your symbol of defiant hope. Let it remind you that you are not alone. The spirit of Saint Dominic is still present, a silent, powerful intercessor who continues to speak to heaven on behalf of all who are bound. He is there, waiting to help you find your freedom. All you have to do is ask.